The only one I was like, I can't get into this was Beau is Afraid. And I like the idea of it, but it was just kind of a dud.
So talk to me.
Talk to me.
The concept of it and the trailer like chilled me to the bone.
Hopefully this is the good Ari Aster. It's Hereditary. He got mommy issues.
Absolutely he does, yep.
What's the weirdest screenplay that I could come up with that Nicolas Cage would say yes to?
That's rude. You interrupting me.
I don't even know if he read half of the screenplays that he's done. It's weird enough that he picks up the phone and goes, yes, book me for this movie.
So how could you know you're not who I think you are? Tick, tick, tick.
He might be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm game.
Sit back down!
Didn't know this movie was rated R. It's also 3 hours.
They won't fear it until they understand it.
Coming out against, Barbie on the same day. I
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken.
wonder how well it's going to do.
And they won't understand it until they've used it.
So, but it's like Christopher Nolan, so it's like, I wonder how well it's going to do. But if I had to pick, it would be...
Hey everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here. Welcome to my July movie releases countdown. It is hard to believe that July is already here. Joining me today is a man I've been following a little bit here. He actually started following me first, and he has a bigger following than I do, so that is a giant feather in my cap, of which I can claim none of the credit. This is a man who has over 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. He recently started his second channel dedicated to movie reviews and trailer reactions. His primary channel, though, is Chandler Burton Entertainment. He focuses on reaction videos and focuses on music and mental health processes and everything along those lines. Please welcome to Dragon Movie Guy, Chandler Burton. Thank you, Chandler Burton, for coming on Dragon Movie Guy. I really appreciate you reaching out, and this is a lot of fun. We've been kind of going back and forth a little bit the last couple weeks, and we're talking movies, July movie releases. But before we get to July movie releases, tell me a little bit about your channel. What is your channel all about, and how long have you been building your channel?
First of all, thanks for having me on. As I said, I love your channel. I love talking about movies, and I think you do a great job discussing movies. I'm like, I like this guy. He's really cool. So thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, my main channel is called Chandler Burton Entertainment. It is a music reaction channel. So I mainly react to heavy metal type music. That's my favorite genre of music. And so what I do is I try to promote those bands that are a little bit more underground. So that way people see my reaction, they may want to go check out the bands themselves. I also have my own podcast that I upload on all streaming services and YouTube called the Chandler Burton Podcast. Just very simple. I focus a lot on mental health in that channel. It's one of those things that has been a part of my life for a while, and music has one of those things that really helped me kind of just cope with the pain sometimes, movies as well. So I've been doing YouTube for about 2 years now, and it's just been a wonderful experience to be able to do that and to connect with so many people they kind of relate to the same thing I do. And the one thing we have in common is that we all love music. And so we're able to kind of talk about our struggles and those types of things. And it's meant the absolute world to me doing this channel. I don't plan on stopping, and it's just been a lot of fun. Very, very grateful for it.
What is it about music that really speaks to you? And you said it's heavy metal music that you focus on?
Yeah, so it's heavy metal, which is a lot of screaming in the music. And it's people think it's crazy, but it's like I completely get it from an outside looking in. You're like, that's insane. But no, it's music has like always been, and it's not like that I don't have plenty of friends, but music feels like that friend that really understands like what I'm going through. Like it's kind of one of those things where I listen to it and it makes me feel like, I'm not alone. Like I'm not alone with my own struggles. I'm not alone with going through the hard times. And it kind of just reassures me, like whenever I'm having a really hard day, like I can listen to a song and it'd be like, all right, you can pick yourself back up and you could try again. Like tomorrow's a new day. You don't have to give up today. There's always going to be a tomorrow. And so for me, like that's how music has always impacted me. And it's always been one of those things where when it comes to heavier sides of music, I just found like so many people just relate to me more. And I love like being able to get that aggression out and being able to just have that kind of experience with it.
And you said you've even had some labels reaching out to you to help promote their bands now?
Yeah, so I have a couple of labels. Again, huge shout out to Sharp Tone and Theora Records. What they do is they'll email me a song and they'll be like, hey, like can you do a reaction to this here? and then they take care of, like, with music, you get like a copyright claim usually, but they remove that copyright claim so that I can essentially, gain the ad revenue. So like, hey, if you react to it, we'll get rid of this for you. So that way, like, you can make a little money on that. And so yeah, I have a few record labels reaching out, and it's cool to see like record labels reach out to people like us, going like, we know reaction videos to this kind of music is important. Not a lot of music is like that is played like on the main radio, so a lot of people may not know about it. So when it comes to people like us, they reach out to us asking us, and more people can be exposed to it. So it's really cool to see like record labels, like, well, heavy metal record labels, like, work with us and be like, yeah, if you do this, we'll help you out.
We're going to go based off of your list of the top 11 movies we each picked for the month of July 2023. About 6 of them are the same, so
Yeah.
we're going to start based off of your list, and where we have the similar movies, I'll talk about my thoughts on that movie after you do yours. So we're going to start with yours and then work our way up. Your number 11 pick for the month of July, this one is Haunted Mansion. It's based off of the Disneyland attraction. It's not really a ride, although there are ride elements to it. Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito. Tell me about Haunted Mansion.
What's funny about this movie is that when I first heard about it, I had a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. It's a hot take. My fiance loves this movie, and I know she's watching right now, so she's gonna get mad at me for saying this, but she loves the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, and I have to disagree with her. I'm not a huge fan of that movie. I'm not. I know some people like it for nostalgic reasons. I think I saw it when I was younger. I don't honestly remember, but I've definitely seen it as an adult. And for me, as much as I love Eddie Murphy, that movie just didn't work. And again, I know nostalgia plays a factor into it for a lot of people, but for me, it didn't work. And so when I heard they were doing another version of it, I was a little bit skeptical, because I was like, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off. You're right; it's based on like the ride, and again, I love Disneyland. I think it's wonderful. And I'm going to compare like Pirates of the Caribbean, like, at least in my opinion, the first 2 I really enjoyed, and that was based on a ride. So I was like, we'll see. But then I started seeing the cast, and then I started seeing everyone involved, and I believe his name is like Lakeith. He's in Get Out, the main guy. I love him. Yeah, I love him. I loved him in, like, Sorry to Bother You. He was in another movie with Daniel Kaluuya that I thought was terrific. I forgot it offhand, but he's a great actor. So I'm so happy to see him in this. And when the first trailer came out, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it. It just felt kind of off. But the newest trailer came out like a month ago. I was like, okay, it has, like, not that I think it's going to be terrifying by any means, but it looks like it has a little more of a scarier aspect to it while still keeping the comedy. And I think the movie may have a little bit of a good balance. I think it'll be, part kind of thrilling, part enjoyable, but still good enough for like families. I think it will still be a good family movie. Kind of weird that it's coming out in July, maybe not in October. I thought that was kind of weird, but I'm on board after seeing the trailer and kind of looking more into the cast. I think this looks pretty good. Point of a trailer is supposed to get you really excited, and this movie definitely got me a little more excited to go see this movie. So yeah, I'll definitely be checking it out when it comes out for sure. It's definitely won me over.
Of all of the Disney rides turned into feature films, where do you think this one will rank? Tomorrowland, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Good point about Tomorrowland. It was funny. I worked at the theater when that movie came out. It was my first year there, so I saw it for free. That movie was okay. I think, again, it's hard. It's so hard to base it off just like a trailer, but like, I think just honestly, the way it looks and the way that it looks like it's portrayed, I think this might be, probably near the top for me. As I said, I like the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I actually like the first 2, the first one and Dead Man's Chest. Everything else after that, I personally am not a huge fan of. Like, it just kind of fell off for me. So I think this one will work. And honestly, it's kind of nice seeing them base them off rides and not so much of some of their, like, doing like the live action remakes. Like, I'm just getting sick and tired of those. So this is a little bit different. So I think it'll be good. I think it will rank up as one of the better ones for sure when it's based off a ride. I think it'll be good.
I'm with you on the Pirates of the Caribbean films. The first 2 were the best, and then
absolutely.
I think the law of diminishing returns, I think, really applies after that. And you're talking, you're bringing up Lakeith Stanfield. One of my favorite Lakeith Stanfield movie is Sorry to Bother You,
Yeah,
which is
I love that movie.
Yeah,
Love it.
It's a weird one to describe, but he's basically a call center operator, and it kind of breaks the fourth wall, and it's just so brilliantly done. It's got a great cast. Tessa Thompson and Terry Crews even a little bit, and he's living in his dad's garage, and
I love it.
The whole thing is just so brilliantly constructed. And if you haven't seen Sorry to Bother You, that is the entry drug for me for Lakeith Stanfield. He is brilliant in that one. At number 11, I have Theater Camp, which is from what was Fox Searchlight, but now it's owned by Disney, so it's just Searchlight. This is, for anyone that saw Pitch Perfect, this is Benji from Pitch Perfect. He's gone on to star in Broadway and do a bunch of other stuff. This is a movie called Theater Camp. This is a feature film dedicated to all of the theater kids out there. I was not a theater kid. I was in two periods of band per day for like 5 or 6 years through junior high and high school, and I did 2 periods of choir my senior year. I can't really sing all that well, but you know, when you're a guy and you have a pulse, they let you into choir. Similar to being a male cheerleader. It's very competitive for women, not so much for guys. So for whatever reason, I didn't do a whole lot of plays growing up. I think I did one in like elementary school. But for anyone who loved the arts in high school and performance arts on top of that, Theater Camp looks like a ton of fun. You know, it's the summer camp. It's all of the kids who were left out of a lot of other things, but they focus on performance. And anytime you can have a film that focuses on performance, and it's a comedy, and it's an indie film, and it has that Searchlight Studios branding and that look to it and that feel to it, you know you're probably going to have a pretty good time. So that is my number 11 movie. Have you seen the trailers for Theater Camp?
I haven't. No, I've never even heard of it, but I like the concept. I did like perform stuff like in high school, so like I had no idea like anything about. I was in. I don't know if you heard I don't know if you've heard of Guys and Dolls. I was in that high school. I was Big Julie. And so I've always enjoyed the theater. I've always enjoyed like performing and like, you know, being on stage and having fun. And so I've never heard of this, but that sounds like something that would be really good. My mom would probably love this, so we'll probably end up going to see it. So that's pretty cool. I had no idea. Never heard of this movie before.
What is your favorite theater production to either be in or to watch?
So I'm a little biased with Guys and Dolls because I was in it. I love doing it. And I haven't really seen too much. I would love to go. My fiance is huge about like the theater, like she loves that, and so I probably, again, a little biased because I was in probably just Guys and Dolls. I really enjoyed that. I mean, I would love to see like I've seen Lion King on stage. That was really cool. That was like a wonderful experience. That really, because I love that movie. Like growing up, love that movie. So yeah, but probably Guys and Dolls. That's probably what I would pick for sure.
Nice, yeah, great flick. I haven't watched it in a long time, but
it's been a while. Yeah.
I'm actually going to be doing a podcast with a new friend of the channel coming up on our top 11 musicals of all time. So
nice.
That'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Something to look forward to. But
great.
Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun too. Also on my list, this is one. Actually, I've already seen this movie. I actually went to CinemaCon this year. Yeah, well, you know. Not to brag.
That's pretty cool, man.
Absolutely brag. I got to go to CinemaCon this year, which is, I live in Las Vegas, and CinemaCon is a convention for theater owners and companies. Go and see the studios, Disney and Fox and all of those, presenting to Regal and AMC and all of them. For Lionsgate, their big promotion this year was Joyride. And so I actually got to see Joyride in the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, which is where Celine Dion sings. So think about, so it was like, so if you think about like, and I've actually never seen Celine Dion perform live, and I've never been in that theater before then, but this is like 4 decks high. It is like all of the audio equipment and audio quality that you would think that would be required for a Celine Dion auditorium.
Yeah.
Playing... Basically, it's the Asian female version of The Hangover. It's
Awesome.
It's
I love
not,
to hear that. That's
yeah,
great.
it's not specifically Asian or female. That's the demographics of the cast. But it's written by Cherry Chiva Pravda, the woman with the really long name on Family Guy. When you see her name on the credits, Cherry
They always make fun
Chiva.
of her in that. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's the writer. The director was the
That's
writer of Crazy Rich Asians, and this is a great
Oh.
cast. It's a foursome. They go on a road trip. It's a rated R comedy. It's dick jokes galore. It's there's
Fantastic.
there's no redeeming qualities really for this movie other than it's just really freaking funny. What's your favorite rated R comedy that you've seen in theaters?
Probably Ted. I know we just talked about Family Guy. I love Family Guy, especially older Family Guy. So when I heard like Seth MacFarlane was directing a movie that's going to be live action with the humor of Family Guy, I was on board. And I'll be honest, I was like the loudest guy laughing in the theater. I laughed at everything because I get all the jokes. I mean, the bear sounds like Peter Griffin, so I just laughed so hard. So probably Ted 1 and 2. I know Ted 2 is not as good, but I just laughed so hard in both of those movies. So those are probably my favorites that I've seen in theaters.
And I'm sorry, I we talked a little bit before. I realized I just hijacked your number 10. So tell me
That's cool.
What are the reasons that you want to see Joyride? That's the other one.
Well, the first reason is I believe Seth Rogen is producing this, and I am a huge Seth Rogen fan. I think he's hysterical. I think he's super funny. Most of his movies hit for me, and so when I saw that, I got a little bit excited. But I think honestly, like obviously, comedy is very subjective with a lot of people. Some people may find this movie hilarious. Some people may find it like this is totally inappropriate, not for me. But it sounds like I looked up because I know there's already reviews for it. I mean, it's got like a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes, so I mean, it must be doing something right. But what I think I like about it the most is that this is going to be my type of humor. Like I'm going to be laughing the whole time. But I do like how there is a story. Like they're actually looks like they're going to like try to find their birth mother. And I like how there's like it's not just like I haven't seen the movie, of course. I know you have, but it's like it seems like it's not just like a joke, and then something happens, and then it's like it seems like there's like a structure to the movie where it's like the comedy is like intertwined with like a really possibly heartfelt story, which I really enjoy. So honestly, that idea of it was really funny. And again, that's totally my type of humor. So watching the trailer, I was laughing pretty hard. So I was like, hopefully it can maintain that the entire movie. But yeah, it looks great. It looks really, really fun.
And honestly, too, it's one of those where, and you're right, I don't want to give away any spoilers here, but like any good road trip movie, it's not just a road trip, but there's a journey, and not the kind that like beats you over the head with it, but like it does all the feels without going into the feels. It kind of just gets there through the comedy, which is I think one of the things I love about this film, and
awesome.
All of the characters are so well written too, and there's even a couple of good cameos in there. And
nice.
Yes, you're right 100%. Seth Rogen involved, and he actually was part of the presentation at CinemaCon as well too. He actually came up on stage, and Joyride looks really good for me too. And I guess this is a bit of a cheat too, but Joyride is my number 2 movie for the month of July.
Nice.
I've already seen it, so it's a bit of a cheat for this list. But, you never really know because they can change things between presenting it at a showing and when it's finally released in theaters. At CinemaCon, I also saw The Flash. There were some changes that were made to The Flash as well, reportedly. I haven't actually seen Flash in theaters yet, just because it before I actually got to see it, it bombed at the box office before I could even see the full release. Yeah, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I liked it too. I thought it was not the. I mean, people are claiming the best superhero. I don't think it's the best superhero movie of all time, but I think for what it was incredibly solid. I love the story. I thought it was definitely one of the better DCEU movies for sure. I liked it a lot. I think I gave it like a 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I had like my initial score was like, and I never released the score, but it was like 72 or 73.
Yeah,
out of 100, which is pretty solid. It's 3.5 stars for me.
Yeah.
CGI babies going in microwaves aside.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
that was pretty
but it is the
that was cheesy.
DCEU, so we
Yeah.
take the non depressing
Yeah.
aspects of it while we can. But
Yeah.
this was Joyride was the other one that I got to see at CinemaCon, and
Nice.
yeah, it's just it's a great story about friendship and journeys and all that kind of stuff.
See,
So
and I love that. I love how it seemed like it's gonna be more than just like, those kind of jokes. It's gonna have like, heartfelt type moments like that. So that's what I enjoy about a comedy. And so that's why I'm looking forward to this one. It looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
And this is Stephanie Sue. She got an Academy Award nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was Michelle Yeoh's daughter in that film. Ashley, I'm forgetting her name, but the lead character, the point of view character for this film was the friend character in Shang-Chi. So when Shang-Chi and Katie go, at the beginning they're having sushi with their friends in San Francisco, and at the very end they're meeting with their friends again. Their friends are humble bragging. This lead actress, she was the female of the friends that was like, well, we just bought a new car and all that kind of stuff. And so she is the lead character in this film, the point of view character in this film. So it's
nice.
it's a great friends road trip, all that kind of stuff. So
Nice.
that is my number 2. Final thoughts on Joyride?
I'm just looking forward to it. It's just nice, it's just nice to go into like just a comedy, hearing that it's really good and just laughing with everybody. And so it's the worst when people go see a movie and it's just not very well reviewed and like no one's laughing in the theater. It's just kind of a really just odd experience. But this one seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's been a while since I've seen like a super, super good comedy. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Joyride. I think it's going to be really good. I'm really excited to take the journey with it.
So is this one that you're planning to watch in theaters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I will make time to go see this one for sure. Absolutely.
Nice. This is a Netflix comedy. This is sort of a Meet the Parents type film.
Yep.
It's got a James Bond actor in this film as well as a Pitch Perfect actor. So tell me about The Outlaws.
This is a movie that I didn't know was coming out. So I looked it up and I looked up the trailer and I was like, dude, this looks like it's going to be really funny. It looks like it's just a really fun. I love Adam Devine, so I'm really looking forward to him. It's the story. It looks interesting. It looks like it's my only thing was like I hope like with like I think it's like fiance's parents are like they're trying to rob the bank from what it looks like, and I hope they can. Yeah, and it looks hilarious, and I hope for me like I hope we kind of get a back sort of like kind of why they're doing it and like how this is all coming to be. But this just looks like kind of like a shut off your brain, just have a good time watching this movie. Adam Devine, I feel like him and I would be like really good friends in real life. I love his sense of humor, and I love him in Pitch Perfect, and again a huge fan of like Workaholics. I think he's hilarious in that show. And so I'm like, I hope he just brings that sense of humor to like this movie. It just looks like a really entertaining time. I don't expect anything, Oscar worthy. I just expect to just like turn my brain off, grab some Taco Bell, and just enjoy like a good laugh. Like that's exactly what I want to do with this movie. It looks just fun.
Yeah, and I'm a growing fan of Adam Devine as well because he's great in his small roles in Pitch Perfect as the guy in the fraternity group, acapella group, and then Mike and Dave's trip around the world or whatever, Mike and Dave need wedding dates with Zac Efron, where they're like, that was the one where like it's Zac Efron and him, and they're even like they're going on talk shows to try and get dates, and they're like, there's the good looking one, and he's not bad either.
Yeah, I like that movie. I know again that's another comedy where I'm like, it's not perfect. It definitely, in my opinion, had some dull moments, but like overall, I liked Adam Devine and Zac Efron together, and I thought Anna Kendrick and Aubrey Plaza were really good as well in that movie. They all just played off each other really well, and there were a few times where I was laughing my butt off. So yeah, that was one of the movies where like I really like Adam Devine in this.
What do you think about comedies that are going to streaming instead of to theaters? This is one that it looks like, I mean, clearly it's not a huge budget film, but if it had a little bit bigger budget, is this one that you'd be willing to watch in theaters?
I would think so, because I'm a fan of Adam Devine, so I feel like I would go see it particularly for him. Like there was a movie that came out a couple of years ago called Jexy. It had something to do with like his phone. That's a movie that seemed like another kind of like on streaming movie, but I guess they just thought it'd be good enough for like a theatrical push. I don't think it did that well, and it didn't get very good reviews. But I still saw it because I like Adam Devine. So for me personally, since I like a sense of humor, it would be one that I would go out and check out. It's just crazy that we live in a day and age now where we can get like a for example, like a massive blockbuster movie on a streaming platform. We don't have to go to the theater. Like Extraction 2, like that's a pretty decent action movie, but we can watch it at home. We don't need to go to the theater. So it's like it's kind of like a weird time right now where it's like it's crazy that we can watch this at home. But yes, I would make time to go out and see this. Again, I would keep my expectations at the door. I'm not expecting anything too, crazy, but I'm just expecting to just go laugh and have fun. This would be a movie me and my homies would go see and just have a good time laughing. So I would go. I think I would go check it out. Absolutely.
Jexy, I did watch the first half hour or so on HBO Max when that came out
right
a year or so ago, and it's not one that I finished. Not that it was bad, but it was more of a low key kind of comedy. Like it was a comedy, but it was the non-Oscar version of Her, because he was falling in love with his operating system on his phone.
That's true. You're right. Absolutely.
Except it just didn't have the sexiness of Scarlett Johansson and the acting chops of Joaquin Phoenix. So everything that's left over, and you have Adam Devine writing listicles.
Right. Exactly.
Not a bad film, but fall asleep watching it. It's like, oh, where do and you find out the film finished, and you're like, I'm not going to finish that film.
Exactly. Yeah, it was good for a one-time watch for me. But I have no desire to go back and rewatch it. I hope The Outlaws, I hope I watch it and I'm like, no, maybe I want to watch this with somebody else. So I hope there's some enough funny moments where I'm like, I wouldn't mind watching this again. That's a lot of problems with, in my opinion, with comedy sometimes, where it's like I'll watch it once, it's funny, and I'm like, I just never watch it again. So I hope this can be one that I can watch a few times and enjoy it. So I hope it's one of those.
Absolutely. And it's also on my list. It is my number 9 movie, so it's very similar spot on the list. It's one of those things too. Pierce Brosnan. Mm-hmm. You think about Meet the Parents and how intimidating meeting a significant other, a girlfriend or fiance or future wife's parents can be, especially their dad. And who is going to be more intimidating than James freaking Bond?
Yeah.
So, and then,
exactly. And
then you find out, like, oh, so I'm not just meeting the parents, but they're not just the in-laws; they're the outlaws. Yep. So, that alone kind of grabs my attention. And then the trailers they just look like a lot of fun. It doesn't look like it's trying to reinvent the wheel at all. Yeah, it's just one of those where it's Adam Devine kind of reacting off of Pierce Brosnan, and
totally. Yeah.
I always forget, too, that Pierce Brosnan actually does have good comedy chops. We don't see him very often, but Pierce Brosnan as the straight leading actor in Mrs. Doubtfire. He was the romantic rival attached to Sally Field that Robin Williams was having to compete with as the ex-husband. So the fact that we've seen Pierce Brosnan in comedies before, even though it's not very often, he actually is really funny and can bring the funnies, both unintentional and intentional. So I love what he's doing in the trailers for this film, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's coming to Netflix too. So this is one too that I don't know whether I would go to see this in theaters. Yeah. And I am a supporter of going to see comedies in theaters, but
totally, yeah.
I just don't know if the theater going experience would add a whole lot just based off of watching the trailers for this. Which is sad to say because I love watching comedies in theaters, and you think about like Meet the Parents and how visual that is, seeing it in New England in the fall with all the leaves changing and everything, all the good sight gags. Right. So I don't know if I would watch The Outlaws in theaters, but it definitely is worth streaming for sure, I think. What do you think? Like, would you watch The Outlaws in theaters?
Yeah, I think I would. It's only because I like Adam Devine. I think the movie looks pretty good. It seems like it's meant for like streaming, which it's just not a bad thing. I think a lot of people think it's going right to stream. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because again, we sometimes get some pretty decent movies with that. But Yeah, I don't think this would really add much to, and honestly too, like just looking at the trailer and obviously haven't seen it, I just feel like, I think we forget like word of mouth is still a really big deal. And I feel like this movie wouldn't get a lot of word of mouth. It's just another dumb comedy that's just kind of thrown to the back of like the really small theaters, like at the Regal that I go to that has like 30 seats in it. So I feel like it wouldn't, I feel like word of mouth wouldn't be very well for it, but I think on streaming is where it needs to be. But for me personally, yeah, I'd probably go watch it just because I'm a fan of, as I said, Adam Devine. I think he's just hilarious. I don't know why I think he's so funny, but I think, I would go see it because of him. So I would check it out. Yeah.
Well, he's just the right amount of quirky, but not annoying.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
a very fine line to ride
That's true.
sometimes.
That's true.
While
Yeah.
also trying to be the leading man, the handsome leading man. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not an easy road to hoe, but yeah,
For sure.
it looks like a lot of fun. Your number 8 movie is an animated flick. This is from Warner Brothers Animation. This is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. This is Justice League Warworld, coming on July 25th. Tell me about Justice League Warworld.
I think with this movie, again, the trailers, in my opinion, didn't give too much away, but it looks like Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, they're going to like gladiatorial combat, like with like their alternative selves, and I think that's like really, really cool. And I like that concept. I feel like DC does so well in the animated department. Like there's so many good movies out there that usually go to streaming, but people don't really know about it because, and then they see like what's going on with the DC Extended Universe. It's just not doing so well. Rightfully so. There's not a lot of good movies in there, unfortunately. But I feel like with DC, when it comes to their animated stuff, they really hit it out of the park. And this one just looks visually cool. Like I love Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman like together. I love that aspect. It just looks really cool. Like it's one of those movies where I'm like, I will definitely be checking this out. It just looks like a really cool movie. And I think the idea of it, like seeing them kind of do that, it's just, I don't know, it looks really cool to me. So I don't know I don't know too much about Warworld. It's just the trailer really intrigued me. And so I was like, dude, I'll definitely be checking this out when it comes out. It just looks really cool.
I'm more of a DC characters fan. Like I love Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Over Marvel characters, like the top echelon of DC characters, I think, are better than the top echelon of Marvel. I think Marvel's bench is deeper, but I love the MCU over the DC EU. I've been getting into the DC animated universe more the last couple, 6-8 months or so. The stories they tell and the storytelling is so much better in the animated universe. Why can't they just pull a Disney, copy and paste the cartoons into a feature film, and do that? We don't need to have We don't need to have, why did you say her name? We don't need Martha jokes.
Yeah. I agree. Like that's the thing about honestly, that's like the worst part of Batman v Superman. I was so excited for that movie, and again, there are parts in that movie that are some of my favorite, like that warehouse scene with Batman is probably my favorite thing ever. I was like on cloud 9 watching that one scene, but it's like the rest of the movie was so disappointing. So it's like, again, we get Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman in this movie, but it feels so lifeless when they're fighting Doomsday. And then, but you're right. In the DC like animated world, it's like they really get it right. And even like I need to finish it. I watched the majority of like Peacemaker based off the Suicide Squad that James Gunn directed, and I thought the Suicide Squad was wonderful. Like I wish they would kind of copy Disney, and be like, let's just take what we've done already and just make it live action. Like the Dark Knight Returns, like the animated film, the 2-parter. They just ripped that right from the graphic novel, and it's one of my favorite like animated DC things ever. And like the Killing Joke, like things like that. I just love those movies. So it's like, I agree with you. I wish they would just kind of take inspiration and just kind of just do that.
I love that we're getting a little bit of an anthology kind of thing within this film.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, we're getting Wonder Woman in the Old West. We're getting Superman in the 30s doing a film noir kind of thing. And we're getting Batman
it's cool.
It looks like that dystopian future that we saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
It does.
The dystopian thing where for whatever reason, Batman is wearing a trench coat on top of the Batman outfit. I don't know why.
It looks weird.
Yeah, why? The logic, and now granted, logic and superheroes don't necessarily go hand in hand, but the idea of putting on a Batman costume and then a trench coat on top of that. it's a cool visual, but like, why would he wear a trench
is.
coat when he's already head to toe in Batman gear?
Yeah. It looks
So
weird. I agree with that. Yeah, it looks very, 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 very strange.
yeah, so this one didn't make it onto my list, but it does look like a lot of fun, and the Warner Brothers animated universe. There's some misses in there, but there's 40 or 50 or 60 of them now. Like I looked it up, and that's actually one of those things that I probably should do on my channel is do reviews of all of them, because there's 40 or 50 or 60 of them going back like 15 years roughly, and there's a lot of actual good Warner Brothers DC Comics stories being told in there, way better than what has been done in the DCEU.
Yeah. I hope James Gunn. He talked about the whole universe is gonna involve animated films and video games and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I really hope that they could still keep the quality of those animated films, trying to tie it into the new DC universe starting with Superman in 2025. So I'm very hopeful that they'll keep that same quality. But yeah, I agree. Like if people do a little bit of searching, like they're gonna find some really good DC stuff. And I understand the general movie going audience is not they're going to see like what we see, like Man of Steel, Batman, Superman. They're going to see those and be like, I don't care about that. But it's like if you really do some digging, like again, like you're going to find some good stuff. And again, I think their video games are cool as well. Like the Batman Arkham games and the Injustice games are awesome. So yeah, I have hope for the future for DC. It's just I agree with you. There's too many misses, and people just are turned off by all these characters, which is unfortunate, because you get Batman and Superman in a movie, that should be the biggest movie of all time, but it didn't even do that well. So I'm like, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, man. It really is.
And on the positive side, your thoughts on David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan being cast in Superman Legacy as Kal-El and Lois Lane?
I think they look great. I think they have the look. I don't really know them from anything. When I saw the news, I was like, I don't think I've seen them in any movie or show. So I have no idea. So this is my first time really seeing them.
He played the projectionist in Pearl, which I have not seen yet. I intend to watch it. I loved X. Pearl is the second of those, and Maxine with 3 X's is going to be coming out later this year. But he was in the second one. Rachel Brosnahan, if you love House of Cards with Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright, Rachel Brosnahan was a guest star during seasons, I think it's 3 and 4. And she played, she played a high-end hooker, and she plays the high-end hooker, which fits in perfectly with House of Cards. But she holds her own, and she has great acting chops in there. And from there, she got The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I have not seen. But anytime you're playing a period piece, you're playing a stand-up female comedian in the 50s. And yeah, of course she's pretty enough, but to try and ride that line of being funny and pretty, and the fact that her co-star in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is Alex Borstein from Mad TV. Yeah. So the fact that she's in a show with Alex Borstein and she holds her own comedically, I think says so much about Rachel Brosnahan. So David Cornsweet, I looked it up, he turns 30 this year. He's still 29. So Rachel Brosnahan, early mid-30s, has a few years on David Cornsweet, which is actually probably a good thing when you think about the relationship between Lois Lane, established Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and a younger Kal-El, a younger Clark Kent, a younger Superman. So
for sure,
yeah. So I think they nailed it out of the park. I like that we have one actor who's a little bit better known, one who's almost completely unknown. Zach Galifianakis, this is Elizabeth Banks, this is Sarah Snook in a Beanie Baby movie. We've been getting a ton. Yeah, we've been getting and this is called the Beanie Bubble. We've been getting so many movies, biopics based off of products. We just had Air. We had Flamin' Hot based off of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. There's a Blackberry movie that's also out. That one is on Apple TV+. This is also an Apple original film. This is all about Beanie Babies. And if you don't know what Beanie Babies are and were, Beanie Babies hit the collectibles market hardcore about 20 years ago. So when I was in college, I was collecting Star Trek playing cards. So, like, if you've ever played Magic: The Gathering, similar game, but the Star Trek and Star Trek Next Generation versions of those games. I was collecting those cards, and at that time, I would go into the collectible stores, to the baseball card shops, and you're used to seeing baseball cards, Mickey Mantles, Hank Aaron's, and all of a sudden, there's all of these little plush toys, these puppets, and they would show them, and there'd be like this really understuffed stuffed animals, and they'd be like $20 or $30 for one. Like, baseball cards can get ratings as to how perfect or how imperfect or perfect it is. They would even have these labels on the stuffed animals that it said Ty on it for Ty Warren as the creator, and the condition of the tag on the Beanie Baby was one of the things that they would determine how valuable the Beanie Baby was. And this one looks like it tracks the rise and eventual fall.
Yeah.
Kind of all rolled up into one, with Zach Galifianakis playing what probably should be, if this was a feature film, I would guess that they would probably have Steve Carell playing this character. Zach Galifianakis does not look like Zach Galifianakis, but anytime you have Elizabeth Banks, I mean, my God, Elizabeth Banks is just brilliant in everything she does. And then Sarah Snook. When you have Shiv from Succession in a film too, that's always a sign of quality, at least for me. The Beanie Bubble. The spoilers worked into the title of the film. But that is my number 10 movie. Have you heard about the Beanie Bubble?
No, I've never heard of it before. I know what Beanie Babies are, and I remember them being like really, really popular. I think I actually had a couple, to be honest. I don't remember too much, but yeah, I definitely remember them. I knew they were like a big deal, but I do like they kind of just like fell off. So I didn't know they were getting a movie about this. So this sounds kind of interesting. I've never heard of this. That's what's cool about this. Like, you're showing me movies that I've never heard of before that I'll definitely want to check out. But I've never seen the trailer for this. I've never even heard of this. But I do like Zach Galifianakis. So that's one. Yeah.
Are there any collectibles that you collect, or like Funko Pops or anything along those lines?
No, the only thing I'd say that I would collect is I'm still like a big CD guy. Like, I like buying. It's like, obviously we have like Spotify, Apple Music and stuff, and I do use my Apple Music more often than not. But especially if I support a band, like I'll usually buy the CD. So I have like a huge stack of like CDs. So I buy CDs every so often, but other than that, I don't really collect much besides those.
So you're even more dedicated to physical media than I am, because all of my movies are still physical media, but I don't have a huge CD collection. So if you're taking it one step further and going full CD, you're even more dedicated than I am. By the way, do you think that CD audio quality is that much better than MP3s on Spotify and Apple Music and all those?
I guess it really just depends on, like, I guess who produces it. So like I listened to this band called Sleep Token, and so I bought their CD and I listened to it in the car. Then I put it on like my Apple Music, and I don't know, it felt kind of the same to me. But then there's sometimes where like an album sounds better on the CD than it does like Apple Music. So it's like, I don't know. I guess it just depends on, I guess, how it's produced. But I just really want to support the band, and so I'll just buy like the CD and I just kind of like have them. I sometimes buy vinyls, but those are a little more expensive. But I mainly just buy it to support the bands that I listen to. I just bought the Mario Brothers movie and John Wick 4. So like I like having like physical copies of my movies. So, but if we lose the internet, like I can watch the movies, on the Blu-ray. So I'm like, yeah. So I like doing movies as well.
And what's your favorite biopic about a consumer good product? Like, have you seen Air? Have you seen any of these other biopics about consumer goods?
I actually watched Air 2 weeks ago. I was going to go to the theater to see it, but we just never got around to it. And I watched Air, and I really liked it. I like basketball. Like, I used to play it like in middle school and stuff, but I really liked Air. I really enjoyed it. I thought Matt Damon was so good in that movie. I just love that movie. So probably like recently, probably Air would be the one I would pick.
It's weird too, because it's a movie about Michael Jordan in which Michael Jordan doesn't really appear.
That part's
much.
hilarious. It's hilarious. I'm like, that's kind of weird.
And it's funny because Matt Damon, that character that Matt Damon plays, is based off a real life person. And what's funny is I live in Las Vegas. I've been driving around Las Vegas for the last 15, 16 years. So I've
Yeah.
heard his name, not Matt Damon's name, the character's name, on the radio, just sort of driving around for those 15 years.
Yeah.
So when I heard they were going to do a Michael Jordan shoe movie and Matt Damon was attached, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got into that first scene of film, and the first scene of Air takes place in Las Vegas at a private Catholic high school, which now,
Really? Wow.
yeah. So Bishop Gorman is a private high school in Las Vegas. It's where the family that owns the UFC went through there. And Dana White also went through Bishop Gorman High School. Bishop Gorman High School football, highest ranked football teams in the country, Snoop Dogg, his son was a 4-star recruit in football. He left LA for his senior year and came to play at Bishop Gorman High School. Bishop Gorman High School football is on ESPN or ESPN2 at least once a year because they're always in the top 10 national in terms of football. Bishop Gorman basketball also is ranked, obviously not as highly ranked, but where they have it in the film in Air, they used to be in the older part of town, kind of run down, and they have like this older building. Now they have this, what basically is a small college campus off in the middle of the suburbs. But so it was funny that the first scene in Air takes place it's set at Bishop Gorman High School. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool, and I was like, oh. Yeah, I remember that guy's name because you don't when you're just driving around town, you don't associate some guy you hear on the radio with a Matt Damon character.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so go
cool,
figure.
Though. That's really cool. Drop some facts on me. I love that. That's actually really cool.
This is one that it's also on my list that I was actually kind of surprised the first time I saw this because the first trailer for They Cloned Tyrone is just the 3 main characters in an elevator.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
like,
and
what the heck is going on?
I don't know what it is about elevator scenes the last 10 years. Like we've gotten a couple of great elevator scenes in Marvel movies. Like there were a couple in Captain America. Yeah, and in Captain America, and there's that whole scene where Sam Jackson's talking about his grandfather and keep stepping that whole thing. So the fact that the first trailer for They Cloned Tyrone is an elevator scene is sort of interesting, and you can totally tell it's probably right before the big final battle or whatever they're doing. But this is Jamie Foxx. This is
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega, and Teyonah Parris is also in this. Tell me about They Cloned Tyrone.
This was a movie that when I did a little bit of research on it, I was so surprised because this is a movie I've never heard of. This is also going on Netflix, and I was like, when I watched the trailer, this would be a movie that I would absolutely go see in theaters. It seems like, and this is a movie that I'm still trying to out of all the movies on this list, this is the one I'm still trying to kind of figure out the most. It seems like it's kind of like a hood movie mixed with some kind of sci-fi. They're cloning them, trying to figure out what's going on, and I really like that idea of it. The one thing that drew me to this movie is actually John Boyega. I love this guy. I think he's a wonderful actor, and it might be a hot take. I'm glad he's not just stuck in those Star Wars movies. I mean, say what you want about I enjoyed Force Awakens for what it was, but anything after I incredibly either hated or just really disappointed. And so it's good to see him in this. Jamie Foxx is great. It looks like there's going to be a lot of twists and turns in this movie. It looks like it's just a really exciting film. Because honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what really I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And so this is a movie the trailer alone caught my attention. Going I need to see what's going to happen because you're right. There's something behind that elevator that we don't know about, and I'm I need to know what's going on. So. Yeah, as I said, out of all of them, this is the one I'm trying to kind of decipher the most. I really like this trailer, and I'm really looking forward to this movie. It looks awesome. It looks really cool.
I agree. This is also on my list. The thing about this, though, is the universe that they're in. You're right. I don't quite know what this universe is because, just upon first glance, it looks like it's in the 70s, and it looks like it could be in a blaxploitation type film.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then you go out into the larger world and it looks more contemporary with a lot of the cars that are being driven and some of the other parts of the trailer. And so I don't know what to make of this. Like, is it a sci-fi film? Is it an alternate history? Is it a parallel universe? I mean, obviously it's a universe where they figured out how to clone Tyrone.
Exactly.
but beyond that, like,
exactly.
yeah, like I don't know exactly what this world is, but it looks interesting at the very least. The wardrobe on the characters and the characters
very very hood. Like it's very like kind of like especially with John Boyega, like with the dreads and they got the grills. Like it's very interesting what they're doing, but kind of what you were saying, like I really am still trying to figure out this movie. But again, I talked about it recently, like with Get Out, when I remember watching those trailers, I had no idea what that movie was about. And then like once the movie kept going on and figuring out what it was about, I was so surprised with that movie. Again, it's one of my favorite movies ever. And so I'm hoping, like obviously not at like the level of Get Out, but I'm hoping that there's like a, I'm trying to figure out from the trailer like what's really happening, and then like in the movie we're both gonna be like, oh, that's so cool. And so the trailer, it hooked me. It hooked me like with all the mysterious vibes of it. But yeah, the wardrobe is weird. John Boyega looks kind of scary. Looks kind of scary in this. So I'm like, I don't know. It looks just like the aesthetic of it, but it looks entertaining.
It just looks so well thought out. Like I don't have the words to describe. Like I'm not a clothes guy. Like I'm a t-shirt and shorts kind of guy. So
me too.
I can't really describe clothing in any great detail that people go, oh yes, that clothing style. That's the neckline on that shirt. So yeah. I have no idea how to describe the clothing other than the wardrobe looks very legit and well thought out. Yeah. And it doesn't look like someone just went to wardrobe. They drove out all the clothes in 18-wheeler and had the wardrobe supervisor come in and say, hey, wear this jacket with this shirt to Jamie Foxx. Like, it looks like our lead actors took time to pick out their wardrobe and figure out what their character's personality is and what their character would wear.
Yeah.
There's just something about that part of the process that jumps off the screen to me in the trailer. And I wish I had the better words to describe exactly what that process is or what the result is. Yeah. But if they put that kind of thought into the wardrobe without even really any dialogue in the trailer, them breaking into song, just singing randomly.
Yeah.
To give us a little moment of levity and character when they haven't even bothered establishing what the character is. There's something about that I really like, and that makes me want to watch this film. I have they cloned Tyrone at number 3, and I love Jamie Foxx going all the way back to In Living Color back in the day. John Boyega, I always forget he does such a great American accent, but he's British, so
it's crazy.
Yeah, so it's amazing, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised that British people are great at doing American accents.
Yeah.
Given how many American movies are just sort of everywhere around the world, especially in the English-speaking world. So I guess it probably shouldn't be surprising that John Boyega does a good American accent. But how many Americans can do a good British accent? And Americans almost to a person love British accents, and yet whenever we try a British accent, it sounds, it doesn't even sound as good as Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. Hey, Mary Poppins! Like we all sound like an American doing a British accent. And it never ends well. True. At best, it sounds like Madonna doing a British accent because, like, I live in London. Like, yeah, but you're still American.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still the American girl from Detroit.
For sure. I love that. Yeah. No, he does. He's great. Like, his accent, like, he is wonderful. And again, I'm as I mentioned, I'm happy that he's kind of breaking out of, like, I'm glad he's not just tethered to Star Wars. I'm glad to see him do, like, he did a movie called Detroit a couple of years ago, which was really good. He was in a new movie about, like, the VA, which was, my parents saw it, said it was really good. He's in that Pacific Rim movie. Like, it's cool to see him do other stuff. And I'm glad he's just not kind of stuck with the Star Wars movies.
It was interesting too. He did one called Naked Singularity, and I did not see that film. But Naked Singularity is one where he actually at one point, as his character, pulls up with a katana sword.
Oh, fantastic! Already on board.
And he's holding it. Yeah, so he's like a lawyer, and there's this whole thing, and Anyway, so at one point in the trailer, he pulls up with a katana sword, and he's holding it like he would hold a lightsaber. And
Nice.
yeah, great callback
That's
without
cool.
actually being a callback. And I still need to watch Naked Singularity. That was one of those pandemic movies that just never quite got around to seeing it. But yeah, love John Boyega. One of the good parts
me too.
of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. But,
I agree, 100%, 100%.
so I am curious to see what they're going to do when they clone him in They Clone Tyrone.
Me too, my friend. Absolutely.
A documentary about the very platform that we're live streaming on right now and the effects that the platform has on the people that watch it. This is called The YouTube Effect, and it's I love a good documentary and I love YouTube, so I was kind of surprised when this showed up on your list, and I was like, I didn't realize it. So I watched the trailer and started learning more about it. So tell me about the YouTube Effect.
So it looks like the YouTube Effect is really going to be talking about like the good points of YouTube, and then kind of how, like, the bad things of YouTube. Being a YouTuber myself, if I really wasn't, I probably wouldn't care as much, I think, about this film, because like it doesn't really apply to me. Like, I just go on YouTube and I just I don't really think about it. I just watch videos. But now that I create content and that I'm so a part of it, in the trailer it talks about the YouTube algorithm, and that thing, as you probably know too, it is the most tricky thing to get people to watch your videos. Like, I don't know. I hope they talk about that, and it'll be cool to see. Like, obviously a lot of people make money, like this is their full-time job. Some people, just do it for fun. I hope they show the good and bad side of things, how it can be like, YouTube, just like with anything, it can be very corrupted. My hope is that they talk in this movie mainly, as I said, about the YouTube algorithm, because sometimes, like, I'll make a video and it doesn't do that well, but then I go to my friend's channel. It's not a jealousy or anything. I'll go to my friend's channel. They have like way more than I do. And I'm just like, this is interesting how it works. I like a good documentary, but it's only if I really care about what's being talked about. Like, if you're going to show me like not that I don't love animals, but if I'm going to watch like a National Geographic, I'm probably going to fall asleep. But something like YouTube, when I'm really invested into it, I'm really passionate about it, I'm all on board.
And it's funny because the very first shot of the trailer is David at the dentist. And for anyone who's not on YouTube on a regular basis, David at the Dentist was one of the first major, truly viral videos on the platform. That was the one where the little kid just went to the dentist, got his teeth removed, and he's high on nitrous. And his dad puts him in the back seat, and the kid is high as a kite. And the dad was unmercilessly rolling on his video camera as they're driving home. They've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off this one video, zoning in and out, and he's just had a random moment of rage where he's like, ah!
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. Yeah,
like, there's no reason.
It is hilarious.
There's nothing that triggers him to be angry, but it's just, he's so high.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And it kind of goes. It looks like it goes into the history of the platform. The fact that it's the second most popular search engine in the world, and it's owned by the number one search engine in the world. Even in that 15, 16, 17-year history, there's been so many different eras, and the rate of change. It's such a dynamic platform, and things change so quickly. Right when you think you figured out the algorithm, it changes on you. Bugs Bunny, and he lands on some tropical island somewhere, and they're praying to the volcano god. Yeah. I sort of feel like I'm praying to the volcano god that is the YouTube algorithm. You could do everything to placate it. You could do everything to please it. You can put every single hashtag. If you please the YouTube algorithm, it will reward you. And if you don't, it will put you out on an iceberg. So.
And I feel like a lot of us, unfortunately, are like in that iceberg where it's like, you and I, and we're a little bit smaller creators building our way up, but it's like, sometimes, like, I feel like we both provide, good content, but it's like, we just want more people to watch what we do. But then you get, like someone like, Mr. B. So the minute he uploads a video, it's like trillions of views. I'm not expecting millions of views in my videos, but it's like, you work, you work hard on your craft. You try to like present a good video for people to watch. And then sometimes, like something you got to build, sometimes you get like 5 views and you're like, dude, what did I do? Like, what did I do wrong? The bands sometimes share my reaction videos, like they share them on their socials, and still it's just like I'm only getting like a couple extra views. Sometimes being on the iceberg can be a little tough. It can be. It can be a little discouraging at times. So I love learning from movies. I actually really want to learn from this movie, and I want to see, the whole with Google and Google buying it and stuff. Like I'm excited to learn about this film and learn more about YouTube.
It's funny too because YouTube fame is real. It's hard to capture. It's hard to quantify. I have 891 videos on my channel and 911 subscribers. So I've been working my butt off for 3 years to try and get a following, and I still haven't reached monetization yet. So that's sort of where my place in the YouTube hierarchy. But what was interesting is seeing YouTube fame in effect. I was fortunate enough to meet up with Sean Chandler of Sean Chandler Talks About. He has
Shout out to him. He's great.
Yeah, he's great. And he's got Sean Chandler has a movie review channel, and he's the ranking guy. So if you Google Marvel Cinematic Universe rankings, he's the one that comes up. And so his channel is 250,000 subscribers. After he came to a conference here in Las Vegas, he went to a convention to watch a guy who's worth millions of dollars with 800 employees in New York City. And after the screening for Top Gun Maverick, I got to hold the cell phone as people who were random fans of Sean's went up and took pictures with him. So so I got to take pictures of the fans with the guy who I follow, who himself was paying to come to Las Vegas to see even a bigger content creator. So YouTube fame is real, and the YouTube algorithm does reward, but trying to break through the noise and break through and still create good content. Yes, but trying to please to placate the algorithm is it's a challenging thing.
Huge shout out to Sean, dude. I've talked to him before on Instagram, like message, and he is so nice. I love that guy. He is so nice. Like, it's just a great dude.
He's amazing, and he creates great content and deserves every bit of success that he's gotten. But it's just I just love telling that story because for all of us that are content creators, I actually had that example of seeing people having that internet fame based off of YouTube, and it's a fascinating thing to see. This is a two-hander. This is Biosphere. Anyone familiar with indie films, and especially Seattle-based, Washington State-based filmmakers, the Duplass brothers? There's Mark Duplass, and there's his brother, who I'm blanking on his name, but this is Mark Duplass. This is Us. He's the actor from This Is Us. He also, The West Wing went to HBO Max last year. They did a recreation of one of the more famous West Wing episodes. And the guy who plays Leo McGarity on The West Wing passed away 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So they needed a new actor to come in and play Leo. And this actor in Biosphere was the one who stepped into the role of Leo. You know, it's funny. Biospheres were sort of a cultural experiment or scientific experiment of the 80s and early 90s. The idea is you take however many scientific researchers and you put them into a closed environment and see how all of the living organisms inside that environment interact. But it was one of those things where, as a scientific experiment, it was flawed from the get-go because there's food coming in, there's air circulation, there's all kinds of... So it's not a true biosphere, isolated environment in the truest sense.
Yeah.
That being said, this one looks like it's taking that concept of a biosphere and you're taking two scientists and putting them in an isolated environment to work on whatever they're working on and let the isolation take its effect. So, like anything, if you like the Duplass brothers, if you like their indie films, this looks very much in line with their type of filmmaking. The whole idea of how much isolation we all went through with the pandemic and being socially isolated, physically isolated too, social distancing, that whole thing. This looks like a movie that was probably born out of the Duplass brothers sitting around being isolated at home and like, well, what could we do with two actors and a set? And this looks like, thankfully we've kind of come out of the pandemic largely by now, knock on wood. Right. But this looks like a byproduct of that period of time in history and of that creative energy. So, anyone who's a Duplass brother fan, this movie looks really well done. I've obviously not seen it as of yet, but Biosphere is my number 8. Are you a fan of any of the Duplass brothers movies?
I actually, this is my first time, honestly, really hearing about it, to be honest. So you kind of showed me like about this, and that sounds really cool. And like, I like how you said it's just like two people like with a set. It kind of reminds me of like The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and like Robert Pattinson, where they're literally just on that island, just by themselves, isolated. And honestly, like I know COVID obviously was a really hard thing for a lot of people, the pandemic, but it's like I think some people really like got really creative during that time. So if they're really basing off of that, it's kind of cool. They took like a negative experience like with what we all have to deal with and kind of turn into like, we have an idea for a movie. So it sounds interesting. So I haven't seen the trailer for it. So after every movie that you tell me about, I'm gonna watch the trailers after we're done. Like I really am. They sound like really cool movies. So this one sounds really cool. I definitely would watch this for sure.
You're from Washington State. I'm from Washington State. It's Seattle has its own culture, and it's physically isolated from the rest of the country. I always say Seattle is the place where characters in Hollywood movies either go to or come from someplace that's far away, but still in the United States. Like
I love that.
For example, when George Clooney left ER and was as a doctor, and where did he go to get as far away from Chicago as he could possibly go? He went to UW Medical Center. So Seattle creates, creatively, obviously there's great music but what's interesting is of the filmmaking community, original independent films come out of Seattle. The Duplass brothers are one of the major independent filmmakers that come out of Seattle. And what's funny is the films are always very quirky, and they're never really all that interesting visually. And I have no idea whether it's because it's cloudy 200 days, 300 days a year in Seattle. I have no idea whether it's the focus on the character that's the real art. But the Duplass brothers put out a film once every year or two, and they're usually really well-defined characters. They're usually really funny, a little subversive, a little eccentric. They're not really all that interesting to look at visually in terms of environments and characters, but they usually get really good actors that you recognize. All that to be said, the Duplass brothers do a lot of good work, and they used to work with a director named Lynn Shelton, who's also from Seattle. She recently passed away last year too, surprisingly at a young age. But altogether, the Seattle art scene produces a lot of good indie films. This is The Flood. Looking at a screen cap from the poster, this is a CGI alligator or crocodile. I have no idea how to tell the two apart.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the Meg. It's the isolated act people in the big storm. The water starts to rise, and then the CGI crocodile alligator comes and starts attacking. It looks kind of like the Meg, the Megalodon movie.
It does. That's why I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, but even more low budget. So tell me about The Flood.
Dude, The Flood looks so entertaining. Like I'll speaking of Sean Chandler, I'm gonna take something that he has said before. This looks like a Taco Bell movie where it's like, you eat Taco Bell, but you just kind of enjoy it. And like this movie looks so over the top. It looks like they're in Louisiana. My dad actually grew up in Louisiana, so it's like, I've been there before, and it is super hot and humid. It's just crazy. It looks like it's like these people that are just trying to like they go there and they have to break out of this prison while there's like a crocodile swimming around. So I don't know. Like I like the prison break aspect of it, and obviously the CG croc. It doesn't look. I mean, even the trailer it doesn't look like great. But again, I'm not going for like Oscar. I'm looking to just go have a good time, and this looks. Like I laughed the entire time. Same with like the Meg 2 trailer. Like I laughed the whole time just because I'm like, this looks just so fun and just so over the top that I'm like, I think I'm really gonna enjoy this. So honestly, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I don't think I really recognize anybody in it, but the concept of it, like again, like no one's like a prison break movie. I enjoyed it. It looks really cool. It looks like a lot of fun. It really, really does. It just looks crazy, and I love that.
I associate seeing this type of movie as being sort of like a low-budget, basic cable sci-fi channel type movie. So
something like on FX or something.
So like I was thinking, like when I was watching this trailer, I was thinking it sort of reminded me of Sharknado. But
I love Sharknado for the
yeah,
wrong reasons, but yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's weird though. So like when you're looking at The Meg, clearly that has a feature film budget, but it's still
Yeah.
cheesy CGI on the shark. The
Oh, so
Sharknado,
cheesy.
but Sharknado has the cable aesthetic for the tornado of sharks. This one
Yeah.
kind of, and I don't know what it is, but our eyes can just sort of pick apart the different production quality, the production levels of budgets. This one
Right.
sort of threads the needle between Sharknado and The Meg visually to me. So
Yeah.
I was sort of,
That's true.
I was really shocked by this trailer. Like, okay, is this one that for some reason is getting a theatrical release when probably it doesn't even deserve a straight to DVD? Like this is looks like Sci-Fi Channel all the way, and yet there's something to this trailer that looks interesting. I can't put my finger as to what that is, but what do you think? What is it about this film that stands out to you?
I think honestly, it's probably like the Prison Break aspect where like I like, for example, it's gonna sound a little cheesy, but I remember like, for example, one of my favorite Prison Break movies is actually an animated movie, which is like Toy Story 3. That's one of my favorite animated films of all time. And I love the aspect of them like making a plan, having to break out of like the daycare, and the way that film executed the breakout, I was like, dude, this is like really interesting and cool. And so I like the idea of them like having to try to escape from this prison, but there's also like something lurking in the waters and they have to try to avoid it. And like, I don't know, like it just looks like a really fun, interesting idea. Like I've always thought about like I remember when Toy Story 3 came out, in my head when I was younger, I was like, I would love to write like a fun Prison Break, type movie like that. So I don't know. I think the idea of it looks, pretty good, but you're right. We were talking about it earlier with like, does this movie need to go in theaters and stream? Like this looks like it needs to go like right to streaming. I have a feeling it's not going to do great, but for what it is, if people go check it out, and if word of mouth is good, saying it's just kind of like the Meg, where it's just dumb fun, it might do okay. But
Well,
who knows?
It's funny that that the analog, that the comparable that you're using to compare to a low budget CGI alligator movie is Toy Story, one of the most expensive, and Toy Story 3 of all things too, like one of the most expensive Pixar high budget Oscar winning. It's true. I don't think of the two together, but that is an interesting analog comparison between the two. So they just kind of goes right there. It's to try and figure out why we're attracted to the movies we're attracted to. Yeah, that right there. That's a great comparison.
It just looks fun.
Yeah, this is a documentary. It is about an independent filmmaker in the African country of Uganda. This is called Once Upon a Time in Uganda. It follows an independent filmmaker in what they creatively call Wakaliwood. He's a lover of film, and he wanted to figure out how to make movies in his homeland of Uganda on a very small budget. But because technology has gotten to where it is, you can get a green screen for $100. You can get like a camera. The camera I'm using to live stream on YouTube right now is like a $600 camera. It's prosumer level, affordable but decent quality for all of us that were old enough to be around when the internet was born and promised the democratization of ideas and marketplace. This is one of those examples that you don't need $100 million to tell a story. All you need is creativity and a little bit of ingenuity and a minimum level of technology, and you can make creative works of art that audiences will have the opportunity to see and judge and react to accordingly. And in this documentary, this is an American documentary filmmaker going to Africa, and he covers this filmmaker who makes 45 movies in 15 years. So just think about how much effort it takes to even put out a YouTube video.
Yeah.
The fact that he's doing 3 movies a year over a 15-year period, and they're not Oscar-winning quality technology-wise, but we see other people from Uganda reacting to his movies and being thoroughly entertained by this auteur filmmaker. The trailer compares him to Quentin Tarantino. So just that sort
Mm.
of that action movie, lots of fireballs, lots of fight scenes.
Yeah.
He just looks like a lot of fun. And the fact that they came up with the term Wakaliwood,
I like that.
yeah,
That's
you know,
cool.
it's we know Bollywood from India, so
Yeah.
it's not Wakanda, but it's Wakaliwood. It's
Yeah.
so it's just, it's a fun looking independent film about an independent filmmaker in Uganda in Africa. And,
Yeah.
and the American filmmaker going to document his process and a biography on him as well. So yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
so Once Upon a Time in Uganda, and even the trailer on YouTube looks low budget. So
Okay.
all of that together,
Look it up. Yeah.
yeah, so do you like watching independent movies?
I don't watch too many independent. Like I'm one of those guys where I usually just kind of go see like what's out there. So like I don't really like go too deep into like the independent side of things. I probably enjoyed them, but I couldn't think of a movie like offhand. But I usually just go kind of see what's out there. Like if it looks interesting, I'll go. But yeah, I'm not. I need to get more into the independent type like movies like that.
Are you a Quentin Tarantino fan?
I do. I do like some of his movies. Some movies are a little bit hit or miss for me. Like I love like Pulp Fiction was good. Django Unchained was super awesome. That might be my favorite movie.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I love those, but like Jackie Brown is not as good as I would hope it to
Yeah,
be. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I like the thought experiment of it, but I didn't really
for
as
sure.
much like the results of it. This is a horror film. It looks like to be an Australian movie. Like any kind of low budget horror film, it has a pretty simple concept, and if
Yeah.
it's done right, it should be a fun execution, figuratively and literally, of the unknown actors running around in this film.
Right.
So tell me about Talk to Me, which looks like it involves a hand, a sculpture of a hand, like how they cut off arms from Greek statues. This looks like that,
Yeah.
but a hand. So tell me about Talk to Me.
So Talk to Me, it seems like the premise of the film, and again, I don't really know much. I don't think I know anybody in this movie, like actor wise, but it looks like it's about this female who, like, her mom's passed away in the film, but her friends have given her a way to like talk to her mom again by literally holding this hand. And you can talk to them for a little bit, but if you do it for too long, it looks like the spirits are going to want to stick around a little bit. And it seems like in the trailer that happens, and it seems like it's just going to be like just scary all the way through. This is from A24, which the only one I was like, I can't get into this was Beau Afraid. It was just too long. I know you did it was, again, I like the idea of it, but it was just kind of a dud. And it makes me kind of think like, if I had someone pass away and I had the opportunity to talk to them again and I could do it, I mean, it'd probably be really tempting to do so. And so I hope the movie kind of leans into that aspect of like, there's going to be consequences for your actions. And I hope it's not just like spirits haunt them the whole time. I'd love to have a little bit more than that. But overall, like the concept of it and the trailer like chilled me to the bone. Like I was like, this is like actually the trailer's freaking me out. And I am so excited for this movie. It looks really cool. The concept, everything about it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this is an A24 film. And yeah, I love A24 as a studio, and
Yeah.
the trailers and the production quality of Beau Afraid is really well done. It's just, everything else where the film fails.
I agree. Yep.
What's interesting too about this one is we've gotten other films that seem similar on the surface, trying to doing seance. Traditionally, you would have a Ouija board for this type of thing, where you're calling out to the spirits and wanting to reach to the great beyond and contact the spirit of someone that's passed on. And this looks like a really creative version of that trope, putting it in an Australian setting. Like, how do you have a physical confrontation, a physical tug of war in a horror film with a spirit? And this looks like they figured out a way to do that.
It looks really cool. There's a lot of movies that do that. So it's like, I hope that this movie can somehow find a way to stand out a little bit more. Because again, I mean, even movies like Hereditary, which I love, it even has that kind of seance concept. And so, and I love that movie. So like, there's a lot of movies doing this type of thing. So I'm really hoping they can find a way to like make it unique to them, and obviously the trailer's not going to give everything away, but it's like, I hope they can find something unique about it to kind of tell that story. But I think it looks really cool. It looks like it gives me like the good type of anxiety where it's like I really want to know what happens, and it's like really intriguing to me. So yeah, like A24, most of their movies hit for me. So this one looks like it may be a home run. It looks really cool. So
hopefully this is the good Ari Aster and not the mommy issues Ari Aster.
oh, dude.
Yeah. Hopefully it's Hereditary and Midsummer as opposed to Beau is Afraid, because he got mommy issues.
Absolutely he does. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
By the way, since you started your channel, what is your favorite new horror flick that you've seen in theaters?
And there's so many that I've enjoyed. I don't know if this counts as one. I mean, again, I really like Nope. I don't know if that's considered a horror film. That was really good. I really liked mostly everything from Jordan Peele. Don't Breathe was really good. I don't know if you saw that. That was a couple years ago, but that was a good one. But probably Nope or Us. I just like the way Jordan Peele like executes his films and really makes you think about something. I think he's a genius.
I would have to say Nope and The Black Phone. Quick story about Nope. Yeah. So I write movie reviews for ReviewNation.net. So when I was in the screening for Nope, so 2/3 of the way through the film, people elbow to elbow, coming out of pandemic, building right up to the peak of the film, and right when the entire crowd is quiet and you're waiting through a pregnant pause, a character pops on the screen, and I had so many dirty looks at me because I was like, Hetty! Now, quick background, I used to work in TV news. One of the reporters that I worked with in Las Vegas here, her name is Hetty Chang. She is now a reporter at KNBC in Los Angeles. So when I'm sitting there watching this sold out film, all of a sudden, random TV reporter shows up, and the entire crowd is ready to burst. The tension's been building, and I yell out, Hetty! And she's the breaking news reporter showing up as all the world is blowing up around her, and the aliens and all that stuff. And she's I don't know, and everyone just kind of, I get that slow turn of everyone looking at me. Like,
dude,
what the F do? I'm like, I know her. I worked with her here in Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. So my reaction to watching Nope was, I think, a little bit different than most. And to all the people that were in the screening for Nope, I apologize. But you don't generally see someone that you worked with every day for 2 or 3 years, just pop up on a big screen. So as soon as the screening was done, I went on, reach out on Facebook, like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I just saw. She's like, oh yeah. And it's like the next day she was posting pictures, but even she wasn't posting anything on her Facebook page. So I was like, what? I would be all over Facebook, like, I'm in this movie, and so anyway, Nope.
That's cool.
Nope. Great, great Jordan Peele film, and besides my personal connection to one of the people showing up in the film, great flick. Nicolas Cage is a Las Vegas, not native, but resident. He's made how many different movies? Moving to, leaving Las Vegas. This is yet another Nicolas Cage Las Vegas movie. This is Sympathy for the Devil. This is a two-hander. This is Joel Kinnaman, who was Rick Flag in the Suicide Squad movies, going to the hospital. His wife is about to go into labor, and Nicolas Cage carjacks him. And whether he actually is the devil or whether he's just playing a bad guy channeling the devil, being infected by the devil, I'm not really sure. He's a guy who's played the bad guy in horror films and action movies, and he just recently played Dracula. So the fact that he's now gone from playing Count Dracula to the devil in a film where he's carjacking Joel Kinnaman, Rick Flag. They drive around Las Vegas, or it doesn't look like they filmed in Las Vegas. It kind of looks like they shot in somewhere around LA in a desert environment, but it doesn't look like Las Vegas. It looks like a fun action film. It kind of reminds me of Collateral in some ways. Not of that quality, but just in that weird Nicolas Cage going full Nicolas Cage, but still being the human or a devil version of Nicolas Cage, taking an unsuspecting hostage and going on some sort of a road trip movie, driving around to diners and stuff. And there aren't a whole lot of diners in Las Vegas, and that's part of the reason why I
Right.
say it doesn't. It's set here, but it doesn't look like it was shot here. Sympathy for the Devil is my number 6 movie. Have you seen much about Sympathy for the Devil?
I've never even heard of this, but it sounds like a home run. Anything with Nicolas Cage, I'll watch. I even watched I watched it a couple of months ago, just because I'm really excited for like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I watched Willy's Wonderland on Hulu just to like kind of because it's like in the similar vein. I loved it. It's not a great movie, but him just hitting animatronics and I just loved it. I love anything he does. I just find him so funny. Although he turns out some good performances as well, like in Pig. I really enjoyed that film.
And that's
But
when it was set in Portland. And you're right near Portland, right? Like, I did not see Pig. It was one of my movies that I was looking forward to each month. It made my top 10 list for that month. But I never actually got to go see it in theaters. How was Pig, by the way? That one looks amazing.
Oh, it's awesome. Like, it's funny because I actually knew a lot of the places where they shot, like some of the restaurants they go in and stuff. Like, that was super cool. It was just a really good story. It kind of takes a turn where you don't expect, and it's really heartfelt. Definitely worth the watch. I thought it was great. Nicolas Cage did really good in that movie. I know he kind of gets the butt in of a lot of jokes, like he just does everything. He's filmed. I actually heard when he was here, I was like, man, I kind of wanted to go like see where they were filming, but I was like, Portland can be kind of scary.
And that trailer, the first minute and a half, okay, it looks fine. But by the time you get to the end, and Nicolas Cage is exploding, and he's pissed that someone took his pet pig, and he's like, "Give me my pig!" It just I was dying laughing, and I ended up rewatching the trailer like 3 times. What is your favorite Nicolas Cage of him going full Nicolas Cage like that?
This is one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It's probably the remake of The Wicker Man. I love that movie. It's so funny. It's just a terrible movie, but when he gets so into himself, like there's a scene where he's like dressed up like in a bear outfit. And like these bees are covered all over him. He's like screaming and yelling. I'm like, dude, this is what the Nicolas Cage is that I love. So The Wicker Man, the 2006 remake, is a guilty pleasure movie of mine. I actually bought that movie because I love it so much. I bought it for like $10. It's great. It's not a good movie, but it's really entertaining.
It does kind of bring up the whole idea too of what's the weirdest screenplay that I could come up with that Nicolas Cage would say yes to immediately upon sitting down to watch a movie. That is sort of an interesting thing, because you think about all of the weird movies that Nicolas Cage probably only, I don't even know if he read half of the screenplays that he's done.
Probably not, no.
Like, half these films that he's in, you're like, it's weird enough that he picks up the phone and goes, "Yes, book me for this movie." I love the thought experiment of what's the weirdest thing that I could write down that Nicolas Cage would say yes to.
Yeah, he might do it. So you never know. He might be like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'm game." That'd be cool. I'd be awesome if you got him in your movie. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with him, like over lunch. I'm like, dude, please tell me everything about the universe. He's just the man, dude. I love him.
This is Margot Robbie. I don't know if it's a biopic about a consumer good, but it's about a toy. It's about Barbie.
Yeah.
So tell me about Margot Robbie in Barbie.
Oh, I am so excited for this movie. Just to clarify, again, all these movies on the list I would see, but these top 3 I will absolutely try my best to go. It's going to be hard because Oppenheimer comes out on the same day. I want to go opening night for one of these movies, so that's going to be really tough. This movie looks great. There is a concern that I have with it, but I'll kind of mention that near the end of my thoughts. I think Margot Robbie is terrific. Not only is she like just beautiful, she loves like Slipknot and stuff. I've seen interviews talking about heavy metal, which just makes me love her even more. In all seriousness, she really is a good actress. Like, she was the best part of the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, in my opinion. She was Harley Quinn. I was like, that was great. And seeing her do all the other movies, like Wolf of Wall Street is another example where I'm like, she is so good in this movie, and everything that she's done, I'm just like, you are incredible. I grew up with 2 younger sisters. Like, I'm very familiar with Barbie. Margot Robbie looks great. Ryan Gosling it was actually what sold me on the movie. I think he looks so funny. Every time they talk in the trailer, he's like, do you want me to come over? Like, well, because we're boyfriend and girlfriend. What are we going to do? And he's like, I'm actually not sure. Like, that part kills me every single time. It looks hilarious. And I forgot the one, he played Shang-Chi, the main character. He looks great in it too. Like he's got some. Yeah, he looks great in that movie. As far as I know in the trailers, we've only seen the Barbie world. I know this movie's supposed to take place like in the real world. Like, I know Will Ferrell's a part of it, and we've seen kind of a little bit of that. So I'm hoping that they can still have that Barbie feel if they are going to go to the real world. Like, I hope it's not like, no, they're only in the Barbie world for like 30 minutes and the rest of the film's going to be like in like New York City or something like that. I kind of like the Barbie world. I kind of like where, where it's at. Like, SpongeBob's done that, and Sonic, I guess, would be a good example where I do like those movies, but it's like, they're in our world. And I'm just like, I kind of like the whole Barbie aesthetic with what they were doing. I hope it just can stay consistent when they do meet up with the Will Ferrell character, or however he's going to be involved. It is PG-13, and there's some jokes in the trailer. I'm like, dude, that's kind of like for adults. And I'm like, I kind of like that. I kind of like how it's like more for like a teenager type audience. I'm
taking Oscar caliber or Oscar nominated or winning directors, actors, whatever, and putting them in a summer blockbuster that somehow immediately gives it gravitas and somehow makes it better. Greta Gerwig as director. She did Lady Bird. She's done a bunch of other stuff too. She's done comedies. She's done dramas. And the fact that she was the choice to be director of a Barbie movie.
Right.
I've loved from the announcement, when we saw the announcement in the trades, it's like, huh. And every single step along the way so far, from that first trailer that was calling back to 2001, which is insane on the head of it. I've loved every single trailer and teaser trailer and announcement that we've gotten. Will Ferrell has been in desperate need of a hit for over a decade.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's going full Mugatu. Like he looks like he's playing his character from Zoolander, or a version of his character from Zoolander, a little less weird. So I'm really optimistic that Will Ferrell, in a smaller role, can be the villain that we all know that he can be as Mugatu. And I think initially when I was coming up with my list for the month of July, it was a little bit higher. And, and then other trailers kind of grabbed my attention more. But the list of actors involved in this cast, it is insane how many people are involved in this movie. And that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm hoping that it's a good thing.
Let's hope so, yeah.
But there hasn't been anything about this. I'm not going in with massively high expectations, because I think the best thing for a movie like this is to go in with no expectations and hope that it's good, and then to not be disappointed if it's not, if it's just sort of average. Baywatch from 2017. the Baywatch movie with The Rock. And Zac Efron.
Zac Efron was in that, right?
Yeah, and Alexander Daddario, and it was surprisingly good. But part of that was I went in with no expectations. I was going in thinking that it was going to be bad, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually kind of good." And when it gets played on cable quite a bit nowadays, when I flip channels and I come past it, I sit down and I watch 5 or 10 minutes of it. It's not the greatest thing that's ever been put on film, but it's surprisingly good for what it is. This version of Barbie looks like it could be along those same lines as well.
And I think it's cool that even like people like us who are male are like, because obviously when I think of Barbie, I think of, like younger kids who, like my sisters, like when they grew up, they that's all they played with was Barbie dolls and stuff. So it's cool that we're talking about it, going like, this actually looks pretty entertaining. But you're right. It's one of those movies where it's like, kind of leave your expectations at the door. I remember hearing about it and I was like, yeah, I can see why they're doing it, but I don't know if I'm interested. But until I saw the trailer, I was like, you know what? This actually looks like a pretty fun time. I hope it's just fun. Again, I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes or anything. I just want to go in with just having a good time. Again, like it just looks like a really, really fun time. So that's what I'm hoping for. But you're right. I think it's good to leave your expectations at the door.
Almost like Free Guy, too. Don't go in expecting
for
Oscar winners.
Yeah.
Just go in open-minded, have fun, and if the movie is good, let it entertain. It's a really weird combination of movies to come out the same day, and I've been seeing internet polls about, are you planning to do a Barbie Oppenheimer double header?
I want to.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you think toys for little girls and the father of the atomic bomb, it's not the kind of thing that generally goes hand in hand when you think about the world's greatest physicists and a plastic toy, other than something that was probably melted in the desert as they were testing the atomic bomb. But when you look at, these are interesting though. These are both summer blockbuster movies. These both have huge casts. These both have amazing directors. This is Christopher Nolan's latest film. This is Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer. Tell me about Oppenheimer.
It looks like this movie is just going to be like like the development of the atomic bomb. The cool thing about it is I actually don't really know much about this. I'm just a Christopher Nolan fanboy. He's had a few misses in my personal opinion, but we talked about in the beginning with The Dark Knight. Like I love this guy. I think he's fantastic. And you're right. Like the cast, like even like someone like Josh Peck. Like Drake and Josh is in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. My dad didn't even recognize Robert Downey Jr. when he saw the trailer when we went to go see Indiana Jones. He's like, "Is that Robert Downey Jr.?" I'm like, "It is." He's like, "Holy cow!" My dad said, "I'm going to buy a ticket." And so it's like, yeah, the cast in this, the story looks really cool. I'm a little concerned about that 3-hour runtime. Not gonna lie to you, that's a little bit long for me, but I'll endure. But yeah, the story looks like that's what it's going to be about. I actually, I didn't do that well in school back in the day, so I probably should have paid a little more attention. But like, this idea of it, it's not really a documentary film, but it definitely is going to teach me about history and how everything kind of went down. And we all know Christopher Nolan is just a genius behind that IMAX camera. I mean, it's gonna be just amazing. But yeah, it just looks really good. Visually, it looks amazing. So I have this is a movie that I know I should leave my expectation at the door, but anytime Christopher Nolan puts out a movie, it's gonna be hotly anticipated, and a lot of people are gonna be talking about it, no matter what it is. Every time that trailer comes on, there's always the biggest pop in the theater. People are so stoked.
It's amazing too, because Christopher Nolan's dedication to practical effects
I love
is
that. Yeah.
it's on such center stage display. And when the first trailers were coming out online in early mid January, right after the holidays, the first time I saw the first trailer for Oppenheimer, and all it was a countdown to 7/21/23. I wasn't even quite sure what it was the first time.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah,
like I'm like 7/21/23. What is that? Your high school locker combination? Like, and
that'd be hilarious, actually.
Yeah, and then the trailer for Oppenheimer's playing in constant rotation for the last 6 months, and every time you watch the trailer, it has an updated countdown timer to to the film being released. So, back then it was like 4 months, 21 days, and 6 hours.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're putting that kind of effort behind the launch of it, it has this big of a cast, they have this kind of practical effects. I have Oppenheimer at number 4 on my list. Nice. Initially, I probably would have said that this one would have ended up higher. I'm a huge fan of Nolan, obviously. Oddly, though, I wasn't a huge fan of Tenet, only because of the pacing. And yeah. I love the idea of Tenet, but like when you see Tenet, and I saw Tenet in theaters, and it was like, that was good, but like it pacing was off. And then I go and then I pick up my phone and I see that it's exactly 2.5 hours long. I was like, so rather than failing to meet a runtime as the director, he just sort of nipped and tucked every single thing to get it in the film. So the fact that this is the first follow-up to Tenet, Oppenheimer it's interesting that it is now, we're getting past the 2.5 hour mark again. If anyone's earned the right as a director to do a 3-hour movie, it is Christopher Nolan, because he's had a Best Picture in Inception. He has, for my money, probably the best produced superhero movie of all time in The Dark Knight. And Cillian Murphy is in both. The fact that he's kind of graduated to leading man status in Oppenheimer, I'm really excited for it. Living in Las Vegas, we're right near the atomic testing grounds. So along Fremont Street, which is sort of the old Las Vegas Strip. So if you're down in Old Town Las Vegas, there's a bar called Atomic Liquor, and it's called Atomic Liquor because they have a deck out front of Atomic Liquor. And the bar is old enough that when they used to do the atomic testing north of Las Vegas, they would actually have parties where people would come out and wait for the flash and the bang and the explosion from the nuclear testing that they were doing in the desert, however many miles away it is. So there's that a little bit of a local connection for me in terms of my interest for Oppenheimer. Yeah. In the same summer that Indiana Jones comes back, that we do not have Harrison Ford hiding from a nuclear explosion in a 1950s refrigerator.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that doesn't end up in this film. But other than that highly unlikely cameo, I'm really excited for Oppenheimer as well.
For sure.
If you do a double feature, which one are you going to watch first?
It's going to be Oppenheimer without it's going to be. I'm excited for Barbie, but Oppenheimer is going to be the one I go to first. Barbie is like it'd be like a fun movie to go see with my friends and family, but Oppenheimer is a movie that I'm really like I need to go see it. Like I'll go alone to see it. So that would be the first one I would see. I am curious to see how well it's going to do. Didn't know this movie was rated R. Had no idea. It's also 3 hours. Come out against Barbie on the same day. I wonder how well it's going to do. So I'm like, Barbie's PG-13 and this movie's rated R, but it's like Christopher Nolan, so it's like I wonder how well it's going to do. But if I had to pick, it would be Oppenheimer. And if I'm going to pick a Christopher Nolan movie, like I love like Memento or The Dark Knight. Those are probably my two favorites of his. Super good movies.
Even more than Inception.
I liked Inception, but I don't know, Memento I love that movie. Like there's something about it that I really, really love.
So many great Christopher Nolan movies to choose from too. I don't know if I'm going to plan to do a double feature opening day.
It's going to be long.
Yeah, I mean 3 hours for Oppenheimer, and then however long Barbie's going to be. And honestly, too, I don't know which one I would watch first, because the idea of watching 2 hours of Barbie followed by 3 hours.
Right.
Of Oppenheimer. Yeah. I don't know if I would be able to stay awake through that. But on the other hand, if I do 3 hours of Oppenheimer first and then watch Barbie as a dessert for eye candy with Margot Robbie, I think that's probably the way I would go. Even though logically that doesn't make any more sense than anything else. But the logic of a Barbie Oppenheimer double header,
for sure.
Yeah, it's the ridiculous and the sublime all mixed up into one. Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1. Numero uno. This is all of the people from the last couple of Mission Impossible movies coming back. It's Tom Cruise. It's Rebecca Ferguson. It's Marcellus Wallace himself. It's everybody coming back. This time we're getting a two-parter. So tell me about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
For those who aren't excited for it, y'all need to get on board because these movies are incredible. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, of course. I mean, I think like the first one is good. The second one's a little bit weaker, but I've loved these movies like all the way from Ghost Protocol up to Fallout. And this movie it looks like it's just going to fulfill every expectation. And obviously we know why we're going to these movies. We want to see Tom Cruise do crazy stuff. And this movie looks like it's going to deliver on that and then some. I mean, just that jump off the hill that's in the trailer, it's been advertised forever. You're like, this man is nuts. This looks incredible. Like it is Mission Impossible is my favorite action franchise. Like I know like some people consider like comic book movies and that, but if I'm not going to base it off a comic book, Mission Impossible is like my favorite action franchise. I think these movies are incredible. The reviews that I've read, like the Twitter reviews, people are saying like it's terrific. They're saying that it doesn't actually feel like it's a two-part, like it actually ends, like if the movie ended this way, it would be like good, which is kind of interesting. I mean, this movie the trailers alone, every time I see it, I get the most hype for this movie. I think it's going to be probably one of my favorite movies this year and absolutely the most look forward to this like in July for me. Like this is the one that I'm going as quickly as I can go.
I love Mission Impossible movies, and the initial conceit of the Mission Impossible movies was that Tom Cruise wanted to have a franchise that he could come back to every couple of years and have a different director in every film. And for the first 3 films, he did that. We had Brian De Palma in the first one. Mission Impossible 2 with John Woo is all right. When JJ comes on and directs Mission Impossible 3.
He did 3. Yeah, I forgot he did 3.
He's been the producer on all these films. And you're right, when Christopher McQuarrie comes in as screenwriter, either screenwriter or co-screenwriter in every film since Mission Impossible 4.
Right.
And now he's been the director of this one and I believe Part 2 as well.
Yeah.
You really
He did Rogue Nation, I believe, right?
Yeah, Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol. And when we really start getting into the Christopher McQuarrie part of the Mission Impossible franchise, I think is when we really start to see the whole franchise level up. And not just in terms of... Yeah, and it's funny because we're used to seeing rotating casts and guest stars and all that kind of stuff. But really, the funny thing is since he took over, we've seen basically the same team every time, and even the same leading woman, which is a shock, given the way Hollywood goes through leading ladies. So the fact that Rebecca Ferguson has managed to not be killed off at any of the the end of any of these
Yeah.
films is really a
Crazy.
testament to her.
Agree. Look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we both have Dead Reckoning as our number one movie, having nothing to do with each other, but given that Fast and Furious 10 is also a two-parter, I love the Fast and Furious movies, but the last couple have been and this one was one that ended on a bookmark. I'm not a fan of movies and feature films ending on a bookmark. Even if they are being filmed at the same time, when you have Hunger Games Part 3 leading into Part 4, as a bookmark,
right?
And when you have
Harry Potter did it, like with Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2.
The one I'm thinking of is Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend. When the third Divergent movie was done as the first of two, and it ends on a bookmark, and the fact that I didn't even realize at the time, I just thought they shot the third and fourth movies together of the Divergent series, and just to find out they shot it as a first of two, and the movie was so bad that they didn't even bother making the fourth film. Ever since then, I've been a little bit leery of feature films shot in twos, and
I agree with that. Yeah,
and so that's my only caveat of like, God, I really, really hope they don't do what Fast 10 did, end on a bookmark, no resolution. Hey, come back in a year.
Exactly.
I really hope that's not the case. I don't think it will be because Tom Cruise.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise's ego, I don't think will let him not complete a film.
I think that's what Fast, those movies they're missing, like someone like Tom Cruise who's has their hand in the process. So I feel like we are going to get a complete film, even though there is going to be a second part. And if this one is as good as I'm hearing, we're going to want more. And again, if it ends like it's supposed to end, like it could be its own thing, I think that'll probably be a little beneficial because like Tom Cruise is very into these movies. Top Gun Maverick was so successful. So people are like wondering what Tom Cruise is going to be doing next. And so I think a lot of people are going to see this, and then part 2 will be even more successful. So maybe they planned it that way, knowing like, hey, Top Gun did good. Maybe we'll make the next movie into 2 parts, and people have to come back and see more Tom Cruise. But I agree. I hope it doesn't end on a cliffhanger because I don't like waiting. But again, it's people split those into 2 parts. It's really just like for the money. I mean, they want people to come back and pay more, and I understand it's a business, but I agree with you. I hate 2-parters. They literally just make a one movie. That's how I am too.
Well, it's not so much the 2-parter. Like I love Back to the Future 2 and 3. But when when you're so busy making 2 movies at the same time that you forget to make each movie as a standalone movie to where there's no resolution at the end of the film, that's the thing I don't like. So
I agree.
Yeah. I just that's my one thing that I'm really, really hoping that isn't the case in this film. So in Tom Cruise I trust because he is relentless enough with pretty much everything he does in his life that I don't think that he would release a film that is unresolved in for lack of a better term. So reflect a little bit for me here on your list of movies for July.
I think I'm pretty happy with where my order is. Again, like movies like Haunted Mansion. I'm still, as we talked about, I'm a little still a little skeptical on it. I hope it's good, but you never know. To be honest, I probably move up Joyride a little bit now that you've told me that you've seen it. You said that it's really good and that it's actually funny. It's got a decent story. I probably move that up probably a couple of steps higher, but I think for the most part, definitely at least my top 3. Mission Impossible will remain number 1, Oppenheimer 2, Barbie 3. Again, I'm a big horror guy, so I probably would keep Talk to Me at number 4. But everything else, I think I probably would move Joyride up to probably number 5. You've seen it and hearing about how good it is, and probably move The Flood down a little bit. Again, The Flood's one of those movies where it's like it looks hilarious, but I know it's not going to be good. But Joyride apparently is really good. So it's like I do want to make sure that I'm spending my money and time in something that I know I'm really going to enjoy. Like walking into The Flood, I might be like, I know this is going to be bad, but it's like tickets are so expensive nowadays. I want to make sure I'm actually getting my money's worth. So I'd probably move Joyride at least into the top 5. I think that's where I would probably move that. But other than that, I think everything else is probably pretty good where it's at.
And you're right. Managed expectations, I think, is always important when going to see a film. I'm relatively happy with this list. The Beanie Bubble. I always try and find indie movies to include on these lists. And I've been doing these preview look ahead movie releases rankings for about 2 years now. And some months it's really easy. Other months it's hard. This month was very top-heavy. The top 5, Mission Impossible, Joyride, They Clone Tyrone, Oppenheimer, and Barbie. That was a very distinct top tier. Everything else on this list, I kind of went back and forth on a lot. I don't know of any offhand that I would change. I do like the variety that's on here. I think Sympathy for the Devil might be a little bit high. Biosphere and Once Upon a Time in Uganda would probably be what I would consider better movies. Nicolas Cage is such the conundrum wrapped within a mystery, wrapped within an even bigger mystery. Why some of his movies are good and others are not, but they're all equally weird. So, I'm pretty happy with the top 5. The 6 through 11 are, it's a toss-up. But, I am happy with all these across the board. But thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
For my July movie releases. This is a lot longer than I intended, but I think we had a really good pace going, and I love the energy between us. So,
absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about any projects you have coming up, other videos you have coming up? That people can look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my main channel is Chandler Burton Entertainment. Just if you're a fan of heavy metal videos, I try to keep myself doing at least one video a day. So it's I try to treat it like a job. So 5 video, like Monday through Friday. You just take the weekend off. I have a new music video coming out in August called Never Run. That'll be with my friend Micah Aris that we'll be doing a full on, we've done music videos before, but this will be the biggest one yet. So again, just keep an eye out for that. And then for my second channel, just keep an eye out for just, movie reviews. Unfortunately, I can't get to every single movie, but the ones that I do have a chance to see, because I love going to the movies, I will absolutely put a review up for. So more movie reviews, and then honestly, just more new music coming out. So just keep an eye out for all that. Hopefully it'll be good.
Video with Micah Aris is coming out.
It'll be sometime in August. We got to shoot the music video still, but the video will drop sometime in August. We don't know exactly when, but once we figure out the day, everything is all edited in and stuff. I will be posting about it everywhere. So in August, there will be a new music video.
He's a heavy metal artist?
Yeah, he's a solo artist. I feature on his songs. So I do a lot of the screaming and he does a lot of the singing. So he is he's a really good, he's mostly a singer. He has a rock background, so it's mainly heavy rock and some metal. So yeah, really good guy, really good artist. So yeah, we have a new song coming out in August called Never Run. It'll be a good one. I think a lot of people will like it. So
where can people buy Never Run? Is it on Apple iTunes when that comes out, or where is it going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be, you'll be able to stream it on Spotify, Apple Music. It'll be on iTunes. If you search up Micah Aris or Chandler Burton, you will find the song. And of course, will be on YouTube. It'll be on every single streaming platform, so you'll be able to stream it, check it out. It'll be everywhere.
Sweet. Chandler Burton Entertainment is the channel. Chandler Burton Movies and Video Games is the second channel. Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming on, Dragon Movie Guy. And
I just appreciate you having me on, man. We had a great conversation. This was a lot of fun. I love talking movies. So that was an absolutely wonderful conversation. So thank you for reaching out and asking me to come on. It means the absolute world, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you for reaching out to me. I would love to have you come on anytime. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you again.
Chandler Burton of Chandler Burton Entertainment. Thanks everybody for watching. Anyone who's here, so thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. See you, everybody.
Thank you again.